I'm Robin Monks, and this is Don't Forget to FOSS, the weekly podcast about free and open source software, technology, and community. Summer is winding down here in the Northern Hemisphere. I think it's reasonable to look back a bit at the world of open technology this year and see what the breakout moments have been for open tech. This year, any remaining goodwill for the big social media companies like Meta's Facebook and Instagram and X/Twitter seems to have melted away. Even those who are staying and posting on those networks seem to feel the need to explain to the rest of us why they're still doing it, and are framing it as a sort of intellectual CrossFit. For those of us not wanting to send our brains to Bad Feels Boot Camp, there are multiple options that have been centralizing on two different open standards. Blue Sky has seen traction and has been showing consistent and stable growth, and it's based on the AT protocol. Mastodon and a number of other Fediverse services have also seen increased usage and are based on the older ActivityPub open standard. Blue Sky has an open protocol and a number of open source components that will let you run your own federated instance of the underlying AT protocol called a PDS instance. Although the AT protocol is decentralized, there are currently no other public communities you can join outside of Blue Sky. That's led to some calling it the most centralized decentralized platform. Many folks are operating their own AT protocol PDS instances for themselves or for their company, but none of these instances are open to the public yet, and none of them have a large user base. Because there aren't alternative servers for signing up for an AT protocol account outside of Blue Sky, it's been more directly targeted by laws that attempt to control access to information online, and that's led to it being blocked in Mississippi as of this recording. I'm not sure the AT protocol is sustainable as an open standard unless more open source server software and additional public instances become available. There's too much risk currently that the single private company operating the only large public instance could change the direction of the protocol or even close the protocol to others. ActivityPub, on the other hand, has been used by Mastodon, Misskey, Flipboard, and is supported by Meta's Threads. It is more truly distributed, as there are dozens of popular servers and hundreds of instances you can join. This choice has led some to call ActivityPub too complex for the average user to understand. However, which instance you choose to join doesn't actually matter. Every instance can access every other, and you can always move your follows and followers between instances anytime. ActivityPub, and Mastodon in particular, also have a massive number of compatible clients you can use to customize how you consume content. You can find a client that presents information exactly how you like. I'm a big fan of the open source Ice Cubes app for iOS and macOS. Of course, the official Mastodon client for iOS and Android is also fully open source. The good news is because both of these major platforms are based on open standards, AT Protocol and ActivityPub, you can cross-follow people between Mastodon and Blue Sky using Bridgy Fed. Bridgy Fed mirrors posts, replies, and likes between the two platforms, and lets them both work together in what feels like a seamless way. The same group behind Bridgy Fed has also launched Bounce, which lets you move your following between the two services, reducing your lock-in even further. Political changes and the increase in digital sovereignty and data residency requirements have also caused a number of governments to start considering open source tools that they can verify themselves for security and host within their own borders and networks. I talked about this back in episode 2 when it comes to Europe and some towns in Germany. Having more attention on getting off proprietary SaaS software and onto open alternatives has been a major shot in the arm for open source communities looking to gain longer-term sponsors from governments and regulated industries. In the same vein, we've also seen open mapping reach new heights so far in 2025, with multiple great new mobile mapping apps based on the OpenStreetMap dataset, and with sustained corporate involvement from Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, and others into getting more data into OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap passed 10 billion nodes this summer, making it a highly detailed open data and open source platform for mapping data. Overturn Maps has been adding a global geospatial ID database that can work with the OSM mapping dataset to expand open mapping even further with better coordinates. Both co-maps, as well as organic maps, have mobile applications based on the OSM dataset that you can use for navigation and for downloading offline maps to your mobile device. A lot of people have Windows 10 computers that can't run Windows 11, but still work perfectly fine. In many previous Windows releases, by the time the OS reached end of life, the gap between that computer and the current state-of-the-art was obvious. This time, however, there are a lot of computers still happily doing home office tasks, playing basic games, and surfing the web that are being framed as landfill-ready by Redmond. Windows 10 support officially ends October 14th, 2025. You can extend that date as a consumer 1 year for free through the Microsoft Extended Security Update program, if you sign into a Microsoft account and enable config backup. Businesses and Windows 365 subscribers can get 3 years with options at various price points. That said, applications are going to start dropping support for Windows 10. So even if you get an Extended Security Update program, chances are you won't be able to keep using Windows 10 as you do today for an entire 3 additional years. Not helping matters are the ongoing issues with Windows 11, from the aggressive built-in ads and data collection to the obnoxious AI to the recall feature that effectively takes screenshots of everything you do locally and could send those screenshots to Microsoft at any time. This combination of factors is making people look for more options, and Linux has stepped into the gap in a major way. Every year we're prepared for the year of desktop Linux, but 2025 may be the closest we've come so far. A number of Linux supporting organizations have come together to launch End of 10, an effort to help people either install Linux on their perfectly usable computer themselves or to connect them to someone locally who can do it for them. Of course, a number of Linux distributions are built to be user-friendly, like Ubuntu and Linux Mint. They're both easy to set up, both can be written to a USB stick, and both have live boot options. If you like them, they both also have friendly installers to help someone get up and running quickly. Either of these are quick to set up and try out, and if your other option is simply turning the computer into e-waste, what's there to lose? Linux can also breathe new life into an old laptop. Linux can also breathe new life into old laptops. Even if you have an older Apple Silicon Mac that's starting to feel slow on the newest macOS release, you can use Asahi Linux to try out Linux on the ARM-based Apple Silicon Macs. There have been a lot of changes this year, and a lot of social and economic pressures are starting to drive people even more into open source software. I think we're going to see more opportunity for open source to grow, especially as folks look for an escape from big tech and ways they can take better control over their own data and have a better understanding of how software and tools work for them. Thanks for listening. If you have comments or suggestions, lots of options for contacting me can be found at rpm.sh. The music for this show is by Bodran Kozman. Don't Forget to FOSS is released under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 International License. See you next week.